Yeah, we're really excited. David Benedict and my sport administrator, Rochelle Rubin, did an awesome job being able to facilitate those games. As many of you know, our players, had elected to stay here over the Christmas break. So I want to make sure that we were doing everything in our power to get some games for them. And David and Rochelle were able to talk with the league, and we're able to secure Lowell at home on Monday and at UMass on Wednesday. So we'll get a couple games in here and then have a week before we play UNH on the 1st.
Okay, go ahead, Dan Connolly. We'll start with you.
Coach, what did you think of the conference's decision to just play all games as conference games instead of using the flex weekends that they were before, and then also having all teams make the conference tournament?
Well, I've been in favor of all teams making the tournament. Since the league went to an unbalanced schedule, I think that it makes sense to have all teams in the tournament. I think also, hopefully this year we experiment with a single elimination, because I've kind of been pushing for that for a number of years. I think that would add more excitement to our tournament. So I was good with both decisions.
Eric from Channel 8. Go ahead, Eric.
Coach, there's still a big buzz going around after the kind of a win you had last week. Do you see it in the players as they're bouncing their step? I mean, you need something like that when you're going through a tough time, right?
Yes, I think a win over anybody. Now, it was Boston College, and that's always, right now, I don't want it to be a feather in our cap every time we beat Boston College. I don't want it to be unexpected. I want to get to the point where we expect to beat Boston College. Our fan base expects us to beat Boston College. So I was certainly excited with their play. But, Eric, I just think they're excited to play games. I really do. It's, we've, knock on wood, been healthy for – the better part of a month to 5 or 6 weeks, and have only been able to play 4 games. So the fact that we can get 2 more in here and be right back at it a week later, I think that's what they're really excited about.
Dan, go ahead.
Coach, last weekend you obviously got a lot of contributions from different guys. Gatcombe had 2 goals. What did you see from him? Because I know in the past I think going into last year, you said he had a really good offseason from his freshman year. So how has he improved, and how has he become a more consistent contributor for you guys?
He's consistently, yes, he did make a big leap last year physically, and I thought he made a jump on the ice as well. I think he's continuing to improve. When he's playing really well, he's a hard power forward for us with skill. And you saw last week, I thought he played extremely well, especially on Saturday. And we're going to need him because he's one of our most well-conditioned athletes. And it shows on Saturday when games get late, he still has a lot left in the tank. And I thought he was outstanding last week. We're going to need, contributions from a lot of guys, but the fact that, that's a line right now for us with Yakum and Carter that we feel comfortable playing against anybody. We really aren't concerned about any type of matchup with that line. And I thought we got a lot of secondary scoring last week. So we just need, all those guys to continue to keep improving. But Mark certainly right at the top of the list when you look at what he was when he came here and where he is now.
You kind of mentioned it, but you've got some really big guys on your team this year with Mark and then Yakum, and then also bringing in Nick Capone. So how does having that size kind of change what you're able to do, or does it change what you're able to do at all?
Size is nice if it's used properly. There's a lot of players. Brian Jonta was one of the smallest players that I ever coached, but nobody had more fight than he did, and he played like he was 6'6". So the thing with those guys is they're using their size to their advantage. Like Yakum is protecting pucks. It's hard to get the puck from him. Mark was very physical. Nick was very physical. Cale Howarth, I thought, was very physical last week. But on the same token, so was Brian Regali, and he doesn't have their physical stature, but he's got the heart of a lion, and he was really physical. So I think successful teams can have a combination of skill and physicality, and that's something that we're trying to bring to the table every night we play.
Eric, we can go back to you.
Coach, can you just confirm something for me? One of your former players at BC, Cam Atkinson, swears that you use his stick in practice and that you only use it because it has a lot of goals in it. Just a little levity and talking about Cam and his trash talking ways.
That is true. That's 100% true. But Cam wouldn't be where he was now if I didn't see him play in the Helenka tournament over in Czech Republic a long time ago. So he was a great player for us. I actually do still have his stick. It's in Easton. I don't think they make those anymore either. That shows you that I don't shoot very often in practice if I still have his stick. That was 8 years ago or more maybe. But he was a super player. Here's another one. You talk about size and stature. It didn't matter. You watch him play now. He's still scoring goals, and he's got that unique goal scorer. All the great goal scorers have a terrific shot. If you think of Brett Hull or Ovechkin, but they also all aren't afraid to go to the greasy and tough areas to score goals. And I think Cam epitomizes that. He can beat you with a one-timer, or he'll go right down into the crease and bang in rebounds. And I'm really excited and happy for him to see where his career has taken him. But that's the type of Connecticut kid I want to keep in state now. And I tell everybody that, those kids, the Cam Atkinsons of the world, I want to keep those kids in state.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Ian.
Hey, Coach, can you talk about having 2 more players play in the World Juniors and them being the first NCAA players to play for Team Russia?
I think it's fantastic. It's, Jerry York called me after the series, and we were talking about the weekend, but he says, as only Jerry could, Michael, how did you get those guys to make the World Junior team? Nobody makes a Russian World Junior team from college. And I just said, hey, it's not me. It's I give a lot of credit to, obviously, Jan and Vlad, the type of players they are, but I also give a lot of credit to Igor Larionov. I don't think they were popular picks, so to speak, but Igor thought that they were certainly worthy of making the team and helping them win a gold medal. So all the credit goes to Jan and Vlad, and I really appreciate Igor giving them the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah, Coach, when we talked to him yesterday, the question was asked if them making the team, being in, having gone to play NCAA and college hockey, if that would change maybe the perception for some other players, not necessarily even just in Russia, but in Europe in general, about coming and playing college hockey, and they both agreed that it would. What do you have any thoughts on that as well?
Well, I don't think it can hurt. Jakob made it for the Czech, and that certainly, I think, has opened some doors for us recruiting-wise when he made it. Adam Huska made it for Slovakia, and now that these 2 boys have made it for Team Russia, I think that's certainly going to help us. As I said, I'd like to – I'm open and I'm not averse to recruiting a kid from wherever they are. I think we have to recruit the very best hockey players we can to come to UConn. And I think diversity is great. I do want to make Connecticut, New Jersey, New York, as I've often said, I don't want them driving by UConn to go to another hockey school if they're good players. So I think that has to be our foundation. But we're certainly going to not turn away a Vlad Firstov if he wants to come to UConn. And the fact that those 2 are making the World Junior team for Russia, and they're going to be, highlighted. Everybody's going to be watching that tournament come Christmas Day. It's going to bring great exposure to our university. And if we can get another Vlad Firstov out of Russia, or Jan Kuznetsov, or Ruslan Hazakov, I'd take him in a second. Those types of players, they're always welcome here at the University of Connecticut.
Okay, we'll go back to Dan Connolly.
Coach, how do you find those players? Because I know Vlad and Jan were playing in the USHL, but how do you just become aware of those guys? Is it through somewhere in Russia? Is it through guys in the US? How come you guys are finding these players, but it doesn't seem like many other teams are even looking for them?
Well, it was, as I've often said, that we had to get creative in our recruiting. It was hard for us. I think with this new rink, it's certainly going to be a different story come recruiting a local kid, but it was hard for us to, Spencer Knight, we wanted Spencer Knight, don't get me wrong. He just didn't want to visit UConn. And Trevor Zegras was another kid that, he's right over the border of Connecticut. He's in that Westchester area, which I consider that's got to be kind of our home territory. And he didn't really consider UConn. So those are just two recent examples of high-end players in the area that weren't even considering UConn. And we have to recruit those types of players if they're going somewhere else to beat those teams. So we have to try to do what we can, and we expanded our network. And I happened to see when I was up watching Carter Turnbull and Joachim Kondelik at the World Junior tournament, not the World Junior Championships, it's the World or the Junior National Championships. It's all kids playing junior under 20. I saw Ruslan play for Team Russia, and I inquired about him. I had a pro scout who knew a little bit about him, and I asked him. And the family knew of Max Latunov, who was playing for us, and he was obviously from Moscow, and Ruslan was from Moscow, and that's how we were able to kind of get Ruslan to come to UConn. And then Ruslan connected us to Jan and Vlad. So, it just keeps – that's how recruiting works a lot of times. And I think if you see, Paige Beckers, I think is very friendly with the girl that just committed to UConn. What's her name? The Fudd, is it? Or
yeah, AZ Fudd.
Yeah. So I know they had a relationship, right? A really close relationship. So that doesn't hurt. So that's how we got into that market a little bit. And obviously it's been a pretty successful market for us when you have two players of that caliber making the national team in Russia. So, it's something that we're certainly going to keep exploring in the future. As I said, I don't think you can really close your doors to good players. I don't think it's wise for us to say, we don't recruit, Toronto, so we're not going to take any Toronto kids. We might not spend a lot of time there, but if a good Toronto player becomes available and he's friendly with Harrison Reese, who happens to be on our team, certainly we're going to go watch that player and try to recruit him.
And then I assume the same thing is with BC, because you've had so many British Columbia guys. I meant British Columbia, BC.
Right.
You've had so many of those guys come through too.
We do, and that helps too, because you get – you start – when you're out there recruiting all the time, you start fostering relationships with different coaches and different development coaches. And then, before you know it, they're calling you saying, hey, I think you should come look at this kid. And we're spending a lot of time watching games out there. So Hudson Shandor, who I think was off to a great start for us, Joe Pereira was out watching another kid play that we were interested in. And he came back saying, hey, I'd like you to go see this Hudson Shandor. This kid kind of blew me away. I really liked him. And sure enough, I went out there and I liked him. And, Tyler got to watch him play. But that's how we got Hudson Shandor. Not going out there to watch him specifically, someone else, and then you see him play. And that's the one thing that we really miss. We were having a recruiting meeting the other day. Without being able to go out and watch players, it's really hard to identify kids that you normally wouldn't, like just watching tape. But when you're at a game and someone just keeps jumping off the ice at you, it's hard not to notice that kid. And a lot of times when I was at BC, I recruited Rob Scuderi that way. I went out to watch a goalie, and Rob Scuderi was the best player on the ice. I said, hey, why aren't we recruiting this kid? A lot of times that happens, and you find great players that way.
Eric, did you have another one? Coach,
I'm all set.
Okay, before we let you go, if we could just get some thoughts on the two opponents. I mean, what do you expect to see from UMass Lowell, who hasn't been able to play a lot of games yet? And then, again, you've already seen UMass. You played him to start the year, and you're going to see him again here next week. What are your thoughts on the two opponents?
I have the utmost respect for Norm Bazin and Lowell. I think they've been the most consistent team in our league over the last 5 to 10 years. They play a very disciplined style of hockey. They don't beat themselves. They're usually pretty good on special teams and strong in goal. They compete it's going to be, if you look back at our games last year, I think they were all 1-goal games. If I remember correctly, very, very tight hockey games. And we're going to have to play really smart and disciplined. They're the type of team where if you get loose and you start to cheat the game, they'll really hurt you. So we've got to play a really disciplined, smart style of hockey against them on Monday. And then UMass, we've got to play them a couple times. I think their goaltending's outstanding. I think they're dynamic on the back end. Zach Jones is probably as good a defenseman as we have in the league. Also, Mark Delgazzo is also another outstanding defender for them back there. I think Trevino is one of the top forwards in the league. They're really deep up front. They play 4 lines. So, again, that's going to be a really good test for us. You know, the first time we played them, it was our first game of the year, and I'm not sure we were quite ready for them. And, you know, hopefully this time around we'll be able to put forth a better effort at UMass.
Okay, we had one more from Dan. Go ahead, Dan.
I know this comes with the caveat of it's very far away, especially from how early we normally talk to you going into a series. But where are you guys health-wise? Are you expecting to be missing anyone? Or what could anyone?
As of right now, the only guys out, you know, as of today are Jan and Vlad. So everybody else is available to play.
Great, thanks.
Okay, last call.
We will be adding one more player at the break as well. Ryan Tverberg will be joining us, and he'll be eligible to play. I mean, he has to come in and quarantine and whatnot, but I think he'll be eligible to play early January.
What kind of player is he, and what are you expecting him to do once he gets to campus?
Well, I think he's going to provide us with a little depth up front. He's skates extremely well, plays gritty. Offensively, he can be dynamic at times. He's a 7th-round pick of the Toronto Maple Leafs this year. So he's a kid that, you know, we're excited to be bringing into the program.
Okay.
I just think it was really this year, among others, especially where kids don't lose a year of eligibility. Like if he was going to lose a year of eligibility, I never would have brought him in. But because he's not, and with everything being so day-to-day, minute-by-minute, health-wise with our players, I just thought it was smart to have a little more depth in our program.
So then how does that help him going into next year and what would be his normal freshman year now that he has not a full year, but a lot of experience under his belt? Because men's basketball did the similar thing with a cook.
Yeah, I think it's going to help him immensely. Everybody knows that transition from high school or juniors to college is always it's a big transition. It's a lot for a young kid when they come first time, usually away from home, living away from home, and with a totally different academic curriculum and new hockey coach and program and players to get used to. So that stuff he'll have a whole semester under his belt, and he'll know the players and the school and the campus and what's expected of him in the classroom and on the ice. So I think it's going to help him tremendously.